When little Asha Degree was first reported missing, the first thing that came to my mind was, what? And then the second thing was, how is a 9-year-old just gonna pack her little backpack with her little small essentials and leave out of the house? Like, was someone communicating with her previously and convinced her to leave out the house that day? I mean, what occurred? Something had to occur for her to say, I'm out. And then she's never seen again. You know, that case. I'll talk more about it when I get back. Welcome back, everyone. Let's jump into this. The reason why I decided to do this case is because there is more information coming out about what happened to little Asha. It's been out for a while, but I've started recently seeing more news stories talking about they have evidence as to what happened to her. So I was like, wow. I was more surprised that they still kept this story alive from the time it happened in 2000 until today.
An ongoing investigation into the disappearance of Asha Degree.
You remember she went missing 25 years ago on Valentine's Day. Back in September, we told you how law enforcement was working to connect new details of the case.
WBTV's Jason Bucket has been digging through these new search warrants. Jason, what is in these new documents?
Yeah, these 3 new warrants were released here today at the Law Enforcement Center in Cleveland County. Now, they call for the seizure and search of cell phones belonging to members of the Deadman family. Now, you may remember that family was mentioned in warrants put out back in September. Their home also searched today. These warrants showing some text messages and communications between.
So that was, very much props to everyone who kept this story alive. It crossed all boundaries. So many people on so many different levels was truly concerned, I believe, and interested in what happened to this little girl. So, okay, without further ado, I want to fill people in on the case, what happened. Those who are not too familiar with it or not familiar with it at all. And then we'll jump into the latest updates as of 2025. Okay, let's begin. Asha Degree. She was born August the 5th, 1990. She went missing at the age of 9 from Shelby, North Carolina, in the early morning hours of February 14th, 2000, for reasons unknown. That is what made it so suspenseful. Like, what? I'm thinking about me at the age of 9, packing my bags, leaving. For a 9-year-old to leave, either she was lured out by someone she trusted, or the conditions in her house was that bad that she was like, I'm out of here. Okay, let's go on. She packed her book bag, left her family home north of the city, and began walking along nearby North Carolina Highway 18. Despite heavy rain and wind, several passing motorists saw her. When one turned around at a point 1.3 miles from her home and began to approach her, she left the roadside and ran into a wooded area. In the morning, her parents discovered her missing from her bedroom. She has not been seen since. An intense search that began that day led to the location of some of her personal effects near where she was last seen. A year and a half later, her book bag, still packed, was unearthed from a construction site along Highway 18 north of Shelby and Morganton. At the point where she ran into the woods, a billboard now stands appealing for help finding her. Her family hosts an annual walk from their home to the billboard to draw attention to the case. While circumstances of Degree's disappearance at first seemed to suggest she was running away from home. Investigators could not find a clear reason as to why she might have done so. She was also younger than most children who chose to do so. Years after her disappearance, it was concluded by authorities that Degree had been abducted after she left the home. The case has drawn national media attention. In 2015, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, I don't know why I just didn't say that, joined state and county authorities in a reopened investigation, offering a reward for information that could help solve the case. 10 years later, the case has been declared a homicide investigation, and suspects have been named after several searches. Okay, Harold and Iguila, I don't even want to try to pronounce the woman's name because I don't want to botch it up. Degree married on Valentine's Day in 1988. Their son O'Brien was born a year later. Asia was born in 1990. The Degrees raised both children in their house on Oak Crest Drive in a residential subdivision amidst a generally rural area north of Shelby, North Carolina, on the western edge of the Charlotte metropolitan area. Both worked regular jobs nearby. Harold was a dock loader and the wife worked for Hawaii America, manufacturing building pianos. The children let themselves in after school, where their parents expected that they would either be doing their homework or finished with it by the time they returned. They made sure their children were insulated from outside influences and had a life centered around their extended family, church, and school. The Degrees did not have a computer in the house. Every time you turned on the TV, there was some PDO who had lured somebody's child away via the internet. That's what the mother said. That was recalled in the 2013 Jet interview. The mother said Asia handled this well. She was cautious, shy, and content mostly to stay within the limits her parents set. She was scared to death of dogs. She recalled years later, I never thought she would go out of the house. That when you look at her pictures, when I was, doing research and getting pictures of her, she looked like a sweet little girl. Like, with some children at that age, they don't really know most don't know how to be deceitful and conceal how they really feel. Some from the looks, the different pictures I saw of her, she looked like a happy little girl. So that's the pictures they showed through the media. It made you wonder, like, why did you leave your house? You look like a sweet little girl. Like you had a happy life. It's just weird. Let's go on. Asia was in 4th grade at nearby Falston Elementary School, going into a third-day weekend on the second week of February 2000. The Cleveland County schools were closed on Friday, February 11th. While the Degrees still had to work, the children spent the day at their aunt's house in the same neighborhood, from which they went to their youth basketball practices at their school. The following day, Asia's basketball team, on which she was a star point guard, lost its first game of the season. Asia had fouled out. Her parents recalled that she was somewhat upset about this, crying along with her teammates afterwards, but seemed to have gotten over it and watched her brother's game later that day. February 13th, a Sunday, the children went to church from a relative's house and then returned home. Around 8 p.m. that night, both children went to bed in the room they shared. Almost an hour later, the power went out in the neighborhood after a nearby car accident. The power came back on at 12:30 a.m., at which time Harold checked on his children and saw both Asia and O'Brien asleep in their beds. He checked again shortly before he went to bed at 2:30 a.m. on Friday the 14th and again saw them both. Shortly afterwards, O'Brien, then age 10, recalls hearing Asia's bed squeak. He did not further rouse himself. as he assumed she was merely changing positions in her bed sleep. Apparently around this time, Asha got out of bed, taking a book bag she had previously packed with several sets of clothes and personal items, and left the house. Between 3:45 and 4:15 a.m., a truck driver and a motorist saw her walking south along Highway 18 wearing a long-sleeve white t-shirt and white pants just north of its junction with Highway 180. They reported this to the police after seeing a TV report about her disappearance. The motorist said that he turned his car around because he thought it was strange such a small child would be out by herself at that hour. He circled 3 times and saw Degree run into the woods by the roadside and disappear. It was a rainy night, and the witness said there was a storm raging when he saw her. County Sheriff Dan Crawford said, "We're pretty sure it was her because the descriptions they gave are consistent with what we know she was wearing." He added that they also saw her at the same place heading the same direction. The mother awoke at 5:35 a.m. to get the children ready for school that morning. This involved drawing a bath for them because they had not been able to take one the night before due to the power outage. When she opened the children's room to wake them up before their 6:30 alarm and called them to the bath, O'Brien was in his bed. Asha was not. The mother was unable to find her in the house or in the family cars. She told Harold she could not find their daughter. He suggested Asha might have gone over to his mother's house across the street. When the mother called there, her sister-in-law said Asha was not there. That's when I went into panic mode. I heard a car next door. I put on shoes and ran outside. The mother called her mother, who told her to call the police. By 6:40 a.m., the first police officers had arrived on the scene. Police dogs called to the scene could not pick up Asha's scent. The mother went through the neighborhood calling Asha's name, which she said had awakened everyone by 7:30. Friends and families and neighbors canceled their plans for the day to assist police in searching the vicinity, while the pastor of their church, along with other area clergymen, came to the Degrees' home to support them. By the day's end, all that had been found was a mitten, which the mother said did not belong to her daughter, noting that no winter clothing had been taken from the house. Local news coverage prompted the 2 drivers who had seen Asha walking along the road early that morning, including the one whose attempt to approach her apparently prompted Asha to flee into the woods, to report the sightings to the police. February the 15th, candy wrappers were found in a shed at a nearby business along the highway near where Asha had been seen running into the woods. Along with them were a pencil, a green marker, and a yellow hair bow that were identified as belonging to her. Also found was a photograph of a black girl around Asha's age who was yet to be identified. It was the only trace of her found during the initial search. On February 16th, the mother realized that Asha's bedroom was missing her favorite clothing, including a pair of blue jeans with a red stripe. A week later, the search was called off after 9,000 man-hours had been invested in search of the 2-3-mile radius of where she had last been seen. Flyers have been posted all over the area. 300 leads have been submitted that range from possible sightings to tips about abandoned houses and wells where Asha might have ended up. "We have never really had the first good substantial lead," said County Sheriff Dan Crawford at a news conference. He urged the media to keep the story alive, and I can give them much props because they have kept this story alive for 25 years, for real. At the news conference on February 22nd, 2000, Crawford said he was going long range with the search for Asha. Both the FBI and North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation got involved and put her on their respective databases of missing children. While the agencies were done searching in the area of her home and route, we're following every day, Crawford insisted. From the mother's account of what Asha had taken with her, investigators believe she had planned and prepared for this departure over the several days preceding her disappearance. She's not your typical runaway, observed SBI agent Bart Perpue. Another expert, Ben Ermini of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, noted that most children who ran away are at least 12. An FBI agent also pointed to the lack of an issue she might have been running away from, such as a dysfunctional family or poor academic performance. Still, investigators believe that was the most likely explanation for her departure, but that for some reason she either got off track or was abducted. The media attention went national. A month after Asha's disappearance, the Degree family appeared on the Montel Williams Show to call attention to the case. America's Most Wanted and the Oprah Winfrey Show also devoted segments to it. In March 2000, police erected a full-size color billboard featuring Degree's image and identifying information along Highway 18 near where Degree was last seen. May 2001, stock car racing driver Travis Kittleson featured an image of Degree on the hood of his car for an event in Concord, North Carolina, which was broadcast live on TNN. Kittleson said, "We've got a perfect opportunity to put Asha's picture on our car, and maybe, with any luck, we can help bring her home." That was kind of them. Let's continue. In August, Asha's book bag and other items were discovered during a construction project off Highway 18 in Burke County near Morganton, about 26 miles north of Shelby. It was wrapped in 2 black trash bags. The worker who found it said the book bag contained Asha's name and phone number. The FBI took it to their laboratory in Virginia for further forensic analysis. Results from that testing have not been shared publicly. To date, it is the last evidence found in the case. On the 20th anniversary of Asha's disappearance, the FBI confirmed that the book bag contained a copy of Dr. Seuss's Mac, Eli Gott's Pool, and a t-shirt depicting the band New Kids on the Block. Neither appeared to have been her property before they were found in her bag. The book was from the library at her elementary school. For many years afterwards, leads turned out to be dead ends. In 2004, acting on an attempt reportedly received from an inmate at the county jail, the sheriff's office began digging at the intersection in Lawndale. The bones that were found turned out to be from an animal. In 2005, Degree's image was featured on the work vehicles of 2 North Carolina companies, Servpro, or water cleanup restoration service, and Republic GDS, a waste pickup service. Republic's GDS area president Drew Eisenhower stated, "We are doing this for one reason and one reason only, and that is to find Asha Degree. Then we can move forward and help other missing children as well." An age progress photo of Degree created by the FBI was featured on 28 vehicles for a period of 30 to 60 days. The Degrees took steps to keep Asha's memory and the case alive in the public's mind. In 2008, they established a scholarship in her name for a deserving local student. They host an annual walk to raise awareness and money to fund their search. The walk starts at their home and ends at the missing persons billboard for Asha along Highway 18 near where she was last seen. Pictures of Asha, both real and those showing her as she might appear in later years, created by investigators to help the search, still decorate the Degree house. "I fully expect her to walk through the door," the mother says. The mother laminated in a 2013 interview with Jet that her daughter's disappearance had not gotten as much media attention over the years as some subsequent cases of missing children because Asha was black. Missing white children got more attention. "I don't understand why," she said. "I know if you ask them, they will say it's not racial." "Oh, really? I'm not going to argue because I have common sense." In February 2015, The FBI announced that FBI agents, Cleveland County Sheriff's Office investigators, and State Bureau of Investigation agents were re-examining the case and re-interviewing witnesses. They also announced a reward of up to $25,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person or persons responsible for her disappearance. A community group is offering an additional $20,000 reward. The FBI announced 15 months later in May 2016 that their reinvestigation of the case had turned up a possible new lead. They disclosed that Asha may have been seen getting into a dark green early 1970s Lincoln Continental Mark V, or possibly a Ford Thunderbird from the same era, along Route 18 near where she was last seen later that night. It was described as having rust around its well wheels. My thing is, why do people have to be so doggone evil? Why didn't you guys just pick this girl up, drove her to the nearest police station, and let that girl go home? Let's go on. In September 2017, the FBI announced that its child abduction raid development team was in Cleveland County to assist in an investigation and provide on-the-ground investigative technical behavior analysis and analytical support to find out more about what happened to Asha. The team worked alongside FBI Charlotte employees, Cleveland County Sheriff's Office investigators, and North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation agents for 10 days. The agency also met several times a month to go over the latest on the investigations. Since September 2017, local agents and investigators have conducted approximately 300 interviews. In October 2018, the CCSO detectives appealed for information from the public about 2 items of interest that were found in Degree's book bag. The Dr. Seuss book, which was borrowed from the Falston Elementary School library in early 2000, and a New Kids on the Block concert t-shirt. An investigator said the items are vital clues. In November 2020, an inmate named Marcus Mellon, who had been convicted of S crimes against children 6 years earlier, wrote a letter to Shelby Starr claiming that Degree was murdered and he knew where to find her. 2 months later, Cleveland County Sheriff Alan Norman announced that Mellon's claims had led to another dead end. So that is the bulk of what happened to little Asha from the beginning to what was that? The last report was at 2020. That's the bulk of the case. So now let's get into the update. Newly released search warrants allege that a confession was made in the 2000 unsolved disappearance of a 9-year-old North Carolina girl. Asha Degree vanished from her Shelby home in 2000. WBTV reported that Degree was last seen being pulled into a 1970s green Lincoln Thunderbird or a similar vehicle. Degree was reported missing by... I tried to just run through that. Why did y'all mess with that little girl? And they are showing... They basically... Okay. I'll say that at the end. Let's go on. Degree was reported missing by her parents the next morning. Her whereabouts had remained a mystery. But Cleveland County Police said last September that they believe she was killed around the same time. The FBI seized the vehicle from a property miles from where Degree vanished decades earlier. The car reportedly resembled the car Degree was seen being dragged into. You gotta have a dark evil in you to... You have to have a dark evil in you to harm children. Let's go on. In 2001, Degree's items were discovered in double-bagged garbage bags on the side of Highway 18 in Burke County. One item of interest was Degree's undershirt, which contained a hair stem sample. DNA from 2 items in Degree's backpack was linked to Ann Lee Deadman Ramirez and Russell Underhill. Deepman Ramirez is Roy and Connie Deepman's daughter, who was 13 when Degree vanished. Underhill lived at 2 properties owned by Roy Deepman and Connie Deepman around the time of Degree's disappearance. Underhill died in 2004. News Nation reported Roy and Connie, along with their 3 daughters, have been named suspects in Degree's disappearance. I'm trying not to go there, but I'm going to say it. You know, anytime, like, I don't know if you guys saw that big thing that happened. I forgot the state or the city. The skinheads or some racist white group went marching in this predominantly black community.
Breaking news, neo-Nazis bring their message to a busy spot along I-75.
Now, shortly after, a counter-protest of Lincoln Heights residents say they chased the protesters away, took the flag from the bridge, and burned it. Hamilton County Sheriff's deputies tried to disperse the residents, but they made their way to a Jeep they believed belonged to one of the white supremacists. They slashed the tires and the windows were punched out. Now, as a historically black neighborhood, residents add they will not allow hate to come in.
They thought it was a good idea to show up, right? And then they effed around and found out. And they were yelling, talking about, you know, black men have no impulse control, right? You hear that all the time. Black people have low impulse control. Okay. If that was true, I'm gonna tell you how ridiculously false that was, because if black people had low impulse control, there wouldn't be any oppressors here. And I'm gonna say it just like that, because they wouldn't have control over how they feel about what's been done to them for centuries. You get what I'm saying? And 2, the ones who are saying that black people have no impulse control, they do things that show that they have no impulse control, because that seemed like no impulse control. You dragging a 9-year-old girl into your car. You could have drove her to the police station so she can go home, but you drove her off and you took her life. No low impulse control. That sound like low impulse control to me. That sound animalistic. It sound barbaric. Let's go on. One of the couple's daughters, Lizzie Grace Dietman Foster, was 16 when Degree went missing. In September 2024, a man told Cleveland County Police that he attended a house party in the mid-2000s with Lizzie and her younger sister, Sarah. He claimed Lizzie was intoxicated and crying when she said, "I killed Asha Degree," leading her younger sister to grab her head and tell her to shut the F up. According to the Shelby Star, the man reportedly passed a polygraph test regarding his statements to police. Lizzie initially refused to speak to investigators, but she did take a polygraph test. According to the Shelby Star, the test determined she was being deceptive about concealing information in Degree's case. Sarah reportedly told police she would take a polygraph test at a later date. At some point, she allegedly told police that her father gave her a vehicle resembling the one Degree was last seen in. Weeks earlier, police obtained a search warrant for Lizzie's iCloud account. Detectives claimed they discovered messages in which Sarah and Lizzie talked about a shirt. They think it's our shirt. It's not her shirt, Sarah allegedly wrote. Dad is probably going to be a huge suspect. In documents, police indicated that the text messages may be evidence of felony obstruction. They also stated that if the 3 girls abducted and killed Degree, assistance from their parents was necessary in the execution and or concealment of the crime, according to WJZY. Despite the latest developments, police have not announced any arrests in Degree's disappearance and presumed death. That was the end of the update. So basically, the truth is finally coming out. It took over 20-something years for it to come out, but I'm thinking she was abducted by a pedo, of course, a male pedo. Turns out, it's looking like 3 girls did it. My question is why? Why did you guys abduct that little girl? Did they do it for someone? Were they involved in some kind of a cult? Was it just for fun? You know, I don't understand what's wrong with people to think that taking someone's life is for fun. And then you got some people to say, well, I just did it because I wanted to know how it felt. That case always kind of it bothered me and creeped me out whenever there are not too many videos that I even looked at, you know, in regards to her case. That's why I did I went over the initial case, you know, what happened to her and where they ended up in regards to the investigation, because I never really followed it like that because it was just weird to me. It was weird, like, why did you leave your house at that time of morning, walking down a highway on a stormy morning? You ran into the woods when somebody tried to assist you, and then you were never seen again. It was just weird. And the question was always in my mind, like, why did you leave? Somebody knows. And I wish somebody come out and tell the whole truth why that little girl packed up her bag and left. The brother know? Does he know? Do the parents know? Relatives know? Classmate? I wonder if they interviewed her classmates, and because, you know, little kids will tell their friends something before they tell, you know, their loved ones. So did she tell a classmate, you know, what she planned to do and why? It's just weird. Somebody gonna have to tell the truth. I'm gonna have to start doing some more deep investigation myself, because even though they're finding out that the little girl was unalived by some barbarics, is predator barbarics female, I want to know why she left out of that house. Could they have known the little girl and got her to walk out the house? No, they said if that was the case, if she knew them, they wouldn't have had to drag her into the car. Somebody lured that little girl out that house. Somebody knows why she left. So that always stayed in my mind. I think that was one reason why I didn't really follow the case like that, because it was just so annoying. Like, why did that little girl, whatever I listen to, I'm always in my head like, why did that little girl leave the house? That just bothered me so. But we're finally getting the answers, and I can appreciate that much. I still don't like the outcome. It's still terrible that she lost her life at such a young age. And the parents will, you know, that will live with them forever. And her brother. I bet you every day he thinking about, he hears that squeak of her bed in his head and wish he had woke up. Like, girl, what you doing? You going to the bathroom? You know. Or woke up like looking to see what she was doing. And then he might have called her like, where are you going with that backpack? Where are you going? Mom, Dad, you know. I sure would have did it. Like, where are you going? Okay. Well, thank you guys for all of those who listen to the video to the end. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate everyone. Whether you looked at the video and its entirety, I still appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you guys. That's it. I'm shutting down the shop, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.